All right, let's do this. We are going to do some high level English speaking practice. This is a shadowing exercise. That means you are going to say it with me. Match my pace, match my delivery, match my pronunciation. Deliberate practice. That's the title. Let's jump into it. This is kind of a long one, so we're only going to say each section 2 times. You can listen to me say it first and then try to say it with me, or say it together with me both times. All right, let's go. As it is essential for my career, I strive daily to improve my English skills. Again. As it is essential for my career, I strive daily to improve my English skills. However, I never learned how to study the language properly in school. However, I never learned how to study the language properly in school. Looking for inspiration, I came across an excellent article by a master violinist who combines his love of music with his research in psychology. Looking for inspiration, I came across an excellent article by a master violinist who combines his love of music with his research in psychology. According to him, the number of hours spent practicing means nothing unless the practice is deliberate. According to him, the number of hours spent practicing means nothing unless the practice is deliberate. To achieve an expert level in anything, one needs years of active and thoughtful practice. To achieve an expert level in anything, one needs years of active and thoughtful practice. I realized that there are 2 very specific things I have been doing wrong in my language studies that need to be addressed. I realized that there are 2 very specific things I have been doing wrong in my language studies that need to be addressed. 1, I have been expecting too much in too little time. Even after years of higher education, I am still unable to read English without a dictionary. 1, I have been expecting too much in too little time. Even after years of higher education, I am still unable to read English without a dictionary. 2, my practice times must be deliberate, focused, intentional, and planned out. 2, my practice times must be deliberate, focused, intentional, and planned out. Usually, I sit down to read English, go through it as quickly as possible, stop to look up a word here or there, and then take a break. Usually, I sit down to read English, go through it as quickly as possible, stop to look up a word here or there, and then take a break. But I'm hurting myself. I'm practicing a method that will not yield good results in the long run. But I'm hurting myself. I'm practicing a method that will not yield good results in the long run. It will leave me stuck in a pattern of mediocrity and will ultimately keep me from achieving my goal. It will leave me stuck in a pattern of mediocrity and will ultimately keep me from achieving my goal. I need to spend time on the small details. I need to spend time on the small details. Deliberate practice is often slow and involves the repetition of small and specific sections. Deliberate practice is often slow and involves the repetition of small and specific sections. For example, if you were a musician, you might work on just the opening notes of a solo to ensure that it speaks exactly the way you want it to. For example, if you were a musician, you might work on just the opening notes of a solo to ensure it speaks exactly the way you want it to. Recently, I started practicing English daily, like I was practicing violin. I set aside time every day for English practice. Recently, I started practicing English daily, like I was practicing violin. I set aside time every day for English practice. A violin player doesn't learn the scales once and then move on to Mozart. A violin player doesn't learn the scales once and then move on to Mozart. She practices them often, always seeking to play them cleaner and in perfect pitch each time. She practices them often, always seeking to play them cleaner and in perfect pitch each time. That takes hard work, deliberate work, sometimes boring, dull, and difficult. But it's necessary to achieve mastery. That takes hard work, deliberate work, sometimes boring, dull, and difficult, but it's necessary to achieve mastery. For my English studies, I now write down every unknown word that I encounter. I review the list once or twice more later in the day. For my English studies, I now write down every unknown word that I encounter. I review the list once or twice more later in the day. Index cards are my best friend. At every impulse to check my phone, I reach instead for a card. Index cards are my best friend. At every impulse to check my phone, I reach instead for a card. The first question I must ask myself is this: how important is it to me, and what am I willing to go through to achieve mastery? The first question I must ask myself is this: how important is it to me, and what am I willing to go through to achieve mastery? How will this great effort serve me? How will I feel about myself when I do this? How will this great effort serve me? How will I feel about myself when I do this? Life is short, and time is our most valuable commodity. If I am going to practice, I might as well do it right. Life is short, and time is our most valuable commodity. If I am going to practice, I might as well do it right. I now practice English like a master violinist through deliberate practice. I now practice English like a master violinist through deliberate practice. Boom! Good workout! Way to go! Keep moving forward, one step at a time. That was step 3039 on our 10,000 step journey to fluency. Get all the steps at EnglishCoachChad.com, and I'll see you in the next step.